to take us forward and not into the whirlpool of history. Please tell us what we should be doing. Over to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Mr. Sharma. I think both General Koch and Hasib made very good presentation. And I have, jurisprudentially speaking, the matter is before the Supreme Court, and I am yet to argue. Therefore, I will not comment on the legality or otherwise of the challenge which is pending in the Supreme Court about the manner in which 370 was abrogated. Having said that, on the developmental issues, when Indira Sheikh Accord was done in 75, and Indira ji gave a perspective in the parliament and said that it is a golden era now for mainstreaming the Kashmir with the rest of the country, politically mainstreaming. And Sheikh Saab also said, Madam, I assure you that accession of India is no dispute, but only the quantum of autonomy we should be assured of. We will behave as good boys. And Sheikh Abdullah made a declaration after taking over as Chief Minister of the state. He said that henceforth let us give moratorium to politics and start on developing the state from where Bakhshi Ghulam Muhammad has left it. Since then, from 75 onwards, we have been on the path of development. And Sheikh Saab was one such leader who could manage very effectively and forcefully whatever he meant about the development. So I agree with Hasib Saab that nothing has happened for these so many years. It is only after 2019, 5th August, that everything is seemingly hunky-dory. And I don't agree with Hasib that it is not a political issue. According to me, it is a politico-legal issue. Politico in the sense that the same majority of the parliament incorporated Article 370 in the Constitution in order to accommodate some of the distinct features of the state which existed at that point of time. And from day one of its incorporation, the Jan Sangh and BJP started a campaign against that. And when they got a chance, they got a majority, they abrogated it. There is no quarrel. But what happened in the meantime? Meantime, from 89 onwards, there is a proxy war going on in Kashmir. And when I left Kashmir in 89 because of the security reasons, I was told that within a month, the law and order situation would be set right and you guys will come back and settle down back in your homes. 30 years have gone by, sir. And in the same argument that the situation is not conducive and secure for your return. I have a question for everybody. Indian state, the might of Indian state failed us then, and it is continually failing us now as of date, because it doesn't exert its will for our return, restitution, and settlement as a religious minority in Kashmir. It only takes the cover of militancy and law and order situation. I agree that situation is bad. But if you could exert the will and abrogate Article 37, if you could exert the will of the nation and go and lay the foundation of Ram temple in Ayodhya. Where is the will? Where is the exertion of that will to resettle aborigine Kashmiri natives back in Kashmir? It's a very big question. And it's the moral, constitutional, and legal obligation of the current government, which talks tall about the Hindutva agenda in this country, to settle us back. This is a very big question. I wish to raise it as the first question. Second question is, you said, what is the way forward? Way forward is always a talk. You have an elephant in the room. Pakistan has entered Kashmir through militancy. It has its political wings active in Kashmir. And you don't seem to have either contested so fiercely and blunt them back to Pakistan, or you don't enter into any negotiation as a neighbor to them and talk on terrorism. You say talk and terror cannot go together. There are history. There are instances world over that talks and terrorism go together, go hand in hand. Number one. Number two, the population of Kashmir, the majority, the Muslim population of Kashmir, is agitational, is in agitation. They have some societal grievances to address. And those grievances are not addressed only by development. There is a political unrest in Kashmir. That political unrest has to be addressed. How do you do that? You do that by engagement with the stakeholder, by the dialogue with the stakeholder. And those over the years you had built as strategic politics, you put them behind the bars and put them in line with all those who ask for secession. So you are not, the current government is not having a very big vision to deal with Kashmir. Abrogation of 370 is one issue. Development is another issue. But as I said, Sheikh Abdullah's development agenda could not settle the unrest of Kashmiris. I don't think Modi's development can settle the unrest of Kashmiris for another, for now. It is not possible unless the unrest is addressed. Unless you address my unrest. I have also an unrest. I am living as refugee in my own country for last 30 years. In these enlightened times, in these modern times, and in this democratic country, and in this mighty country of India, which can take on China, Pakistan, and every country with its might, why is its might lacking in sending me, in facilitating my return back? Do I have not a right to life, living in my own house, in my own home? Why should I live as a refugee in my own country for last 30 years? 30 years is a long. Aakhir vistapit kab tak? I am an internally displaced. So is my community. The only way forward, according to me, is an engagement. BJP puts up its point man. What did it do? Its point man negotiated a deal with PDP. They are experimenting in Kashmir. They got into PDP. Then they unsettled PDP. Now they are unsettling the mainstream politics of Kashmir and wanting to impose their own will of politics. It's not countenance. It's not possible in Kashmir. BJP as such cannot get into Kashmir. They cannot develop any roots in Kashmir. It is very difficult for them. That is why they are now using this King's Party. King's Party has no base in Kashmir. until you talk to the stakeholder, there are moderates, there are peace-loving citizens. As Hasib said, that you need to talk to civil society. There is a very robust civil society available for negotiation, available for talks, but provided you have the right intention to talk. And talks alone can lead us to some way forward. No amount of concessions by way of development. I'll tell you a very funny instance. When Jagmohan was there, he also started a development phase as governor. And in the social circles, everybody was saying that if he is doing development, he is burying 370 under it. We don't allow that. So the mindset of Kashmiri, it's a societal issue. It's an attitudinal issue. And until you change the attitude, and you have the disadvantage of a big elephant in the room, that is Pakistan. Until you neutralize Pakistan or get that elephant out of Kashmir scene, until you win back the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And mind you, sir, state of Jammu and Kashmir, which was built as a mosaic of a multilateral cultural entity, a political entity, was done away with, was bifurcated. What? For what? It was demeaned, and it has hurt further the psyche of Kashmir. Not much more than abrogation of 370. You have demeaned the distinct entity syndrome of Kashmir and Jammu. And what have you achieved out of it? Ladakh, China says that because of abrogation and bifurcation, you have hurt us, and they are coming in Galwan. So therefore, I have a perception that it needs a policy correction. There is an amendment required in the policy perception of this government. We are not against this government. This government is with majority. It has 4 years to go. We cannot do anything about it. And it may be well intentioned to get into Jammu and Kashmir and create a good security environment and also blunt the enemies, but it needs a policy correction to the extent that it needs to appoint astute pointmen, not those. I am reminded where angels fear to tread, fools rush in. And what are those fools doing there? They sometimes give one statement, sometimes talk to Hasib Drabu to negotiate a deal of the government. Then sometimes, withdraw the support of Mahbooba Mufti, sometimes doing this, sometimes doing that, and sometimes castigating those strategic political assets like Abdullah's and Mufti's, saying that they are anti-national. Is this a correct perception? I'm asking this myself a question. Can a mighty Indian state behave like this in Kashmir and allow Kashmir to drift? Kashmir is in perpetual bleeding process for the last 30 years. And the might of India is not still prevailing there. If might of India had to prevail there, then Ashok Bhan and his community should have been physically present in Kashmir. I was told 30 years back that the situation will be created conducive. It is not. For 30 years, it's not conducive. Where is it conducive? It is not conducive. It may be conducive for military point of view. And even the military commanders are saying, day in and day out, that we have done our job in Kashmir. It is for the political process to get initiated. Whatever the army could do, they are doing their job. They have killed so many of the top militants. What else could they do? They are doing it on a regular basis. The law and order situation vis-a-vis militancy is under grips. That is because of armed forces.
Ashok, try and conclude, please. Hello.